And I think it's one of the most important things in ministry is to never stop cultivating personal relationship with him, the freshness of his word. You're not just doing a sermon for other people, but the sermon's first for you. You're studying first for you because you need it more than anybody else. The biggest mistake I made as a brand new pastor, well, there's a lot of them, and it depends on who you ask. I think I do think I was worried way too much about what people thought. I love the Lord. I wanted them to love the Lord, but uh, I call it photobombing Jesus, where you want Jesus to be central, but you kind of want to be in the picture. You're like, I was there, and I felt like that was my early years in ministry. I just kind of wanted some of the glory, and in one sense, it makes sense, right? We're created to help people to see His glory, so there's fulfillment there, there's joy there. But there was too much of me early on, and that creates a whole lot of problems. I don't think I was, I know I wasn't honest about personal sin struggles. I had a personal struggle with pornography for a number of years that I felt like if I was honest about, that people would not believe the things I was saying about Jesus, and that I didn't know what would happen to me. And it was a really scary place. And I kept thinking, I'll get out of this. I'll get out of this. And then, eventually it comes to the place where by God's grace, I stepped into the light by His mercy with the help of some friends. And the Lord changed a whole lot about the way I think about life and ministry. But I think it began with the fact that I wanted to be thought well of. And I think what we have to remember is that the only opinion matters is the Father's. And that if we're in Christ, that there's no condemnation, that we're loved, that we're sought, that we're kept, and that needs to be enough. And that's where I think I wasn't open about some of those struggles early on in a way that I just needed to be more humble. And you can either be humble or be humbled, and the Lord has a way to navigate, and it's not always enjoyable, but He's always faithful. And I'm thankful that He's helped me to not be perfect now, but to learn to walk in the light. Lots of things I love about being a pastor. I think my favorite thing is watching God change people through His Word. It's more than this, but you prepare, but you show people Jesus in His Word. And when you encounter Jesus, like He can change anybody. And I get this like a front row seat all the time to watching God meet people in good situations, hard situations, impossible situations, and to watching the Lord often more, a little slower than we'd prefer, but in really unique ways that only He could do, show up. And it's constantly according to His Word. And I love seeing God keep His promises to His people time and time again. Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And to watch people trust that and lean in, and to see Jesus show up and walk with them through whatever they're going through. And so I think my favorite part about being a pastor, whether it be preaching and watching the Word just do work eventually, or whether it be in one-on-one discipling or leading with other people or whatever it may be, I have the honor of just being front row seat to constantly watching God work in the midst of all of our messes. And there's no greater joy for me. Somebody who's in ministry and feels discouraged, first of all, don't be surprised by that. I mean, Peter said, don't be surprised by fiery trials when they come. And those fiery trials come in lots of ways. And, everybody has hard jobs in lots of ways, but being a pastor is uniquely hard in the sense that it's constant spiritual warfare. Don't assume that it means that God is not happy with you. Don't assume that it's not working, right? I mean, we don't measure things according to the flesh. Like we don't fight. Our battle's not against flesh and blood. It's a different sort of thing. So I think first of all, just let the Word inform what's true. Like this is going to be hard. Secondly, I would say make sure you're surrounding yourself with people who are helpful for you. So, as a pastor, you can't do it all alone. Whether you're a pastor and just ministry, whatever it may be, you can't do it alone. You have to be around other people. So I try to surround myself with people who love me and are not impressed with me. Those are the best people. They're the safest people for my soul. They're more worried that, do I love Jesus and am I going to make it home to see him face to face? Am I going to persevere in faith? Like, that's the primary thing. And I would say take the pressure off of performing and getting metrics and whatever everybody else thinks is important, and help invite people to help you to see what God says is most important and lean into that. So don't be surprised. Surround yourself with people who love you and care about you. And then I would just say, don't give up hope. Sometimes there are seasons that are dark and that are hopeless, and that doesn't mean that God doesn't love you, doesn't mean that you're failing. The Lord will be with you in the midst of it. And he wastes nothing. So whatever you're learning in this dark season, you can trust that he's going to use it in your life and in the lives of those that you're leading. So don't give up hope, but don't do it alone. And remember that soon and very soon we'll see his face, and it'll all be worth it then. The most important thing about being a pastor that I didn't learn in seminary, I may have just missed it. So a couple things. First of all, you got to remember that seminary and everything that you do in your studies are a means to an end, not an end in itself. So a lot of times when you're going through school and you figured out what a book means or the original languages or what's the ministry thing or your systematics, and you're doing your test, and it feels like it could be an end in itself. But I think it's got to be a means to an end. A couple things. First of all, you study the scriptures so you can see Jesus and love him. And I'm sure that was said at my seminary. I may have just not noticed it as well, but I think I felt that a lot of times, and I feel that a lot with people who are in seminary. Sometimes you can forget that the reason you're studying is so you can know him. Like, you want to be at his feet. You want to come like Mary and say, "Teach me," And secondly, you're learning for your own discipleship with Jesus. Like this. I want this to help me to not just see him and help others see him, but I want to follow him, and I want to persevere, and I want to love him more. And it's for others. So, in my Bible, I carry around our church's membership directory, and these are the brothers and sisters who we've committed to help one another follow Jesus. And so when I'm in seminary, I need to be thinking, Lord, help me to learn so I can help others. Because if you're calling me into ministry, my job is to help them. And so to always have it as a conduit, not a cul-de-sac. Like we're going through to them to help them to follow Jesus. So again, I don't know if I heard those things in seminary, but if I was talking to me in seminary now, I would say, remember, you're going to see Jesus. You're going to help follow Jesus, and you want to help others follow Jesus. And it's got to be the end. Well, it depends on which difficult day, because all the difficult days aren't the same. And this is the beauty of God's word, is that there's never a bottom. So whatever the trial might be, which has been one of the sweetest things of following Jesus for these years, is he always knows what you need. So, and I think it's one of the most important things in ministry is to never stop cultivating personal relationship with him. The freshness of his word. You're not just doing a sermon for other people, but the sermon's first for you. You're studying first for you because you need it more than anybody else. And I think that keeps the manna fresh for whatever the season may be. So I know there's verses I come back to all the time. Matthew chapter 11, "Come unto me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." And it's the cool thing about God's promises is that you can use them and they don't wear out. You can't use them up. It's like something that you polish and they just get brighter. You can't exhaust them. So I have a couple verses like that, that I cling to. Matthew 5:8 has helped me tremendously. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. That the purity and whatever the area may be, it's a means to an end. I want to see him. I want to know him. Like he's the reward. I do come back a lot to the end of all things and reading in Revelation 21 and 22. So, Revelation for me has really become one of my favorite books. And I know there's weird stuff in there, but if you step back and see what it is, it's the revelation of Jesus Christ. And he's revealing himself and the fact that he conquers. And he's given it to these 7 churches because they need to hear, because they're about to endure all of this hardship until they get to the land where there's no more crying and no more tears and no more pain and no more funerals and no more goodbyes and no more betrayals, and all that's going to be done. And what he gives is he gives himself, and he shows himself as the conquering king. So in this season, I'd say the book of Revelation is uniquely sweet for me, just to see that sin doesn't win and death doesn't win and suffering doesn't win and cancer doesn't win and all this stuff, that it just doesn't win. Jesus conquers. And that if you trust him, that he'll hold you fast and you'll eat of the tree of life. And I'm ready for some of that.